Greetings, my loyal compatriots, and the Tankfish viewer base, who I know will be watching this video. As you may know, Tankfish has released a response debunking my claims against him. However, if you actually analyze the contents of his video and his responses to the allegations, the vast majority of them fall flat, and also hold no weight. So here's my proper video addressing everything which he has brought up in his video. We will divide this into two sections. In the first section, I will briefly address the main concerns of Tankfish's fans and commenters with the main criticisms of me and my video. I will then move on to cover Tankfish's actual response. Let's begin. Looking through my comments, the main arguments I can see highlighted are as follows. 1. Drama slop YouTuber, doing it for the money, get the bag bro, etc, etc. 2. It was years ago, Tankfish changed, you can't judge him for what he did in the past. Number 3. Misinformation, lies, and my video sucks. 4. You made a joke, you're a hypocrite. Let's go through these one by one. Here's a graph of my earnings from the video. As someone who was groomed in my tenure in Tankfish's community and was heavily exposed to the extreme material being posted there, I decided against monetizing the video, making $0 despite having over 200,000 views. In fact, I lost money making the video, as I also have with this one, as I paid for parts of it to be made. Even if I did monetize this video, none of the evidence presented nor its validity is changed by it being monetized. What you should be analyzing is the contents of the video critiquing him instead of whether it produced money or not. Now, to those who made this criticism, I would like to point out that Tankfish's response to my video, which presented allegations of him committing what is a crime in his country, contained advertisements, was monetized, and even plugged his merchandise in the description. Therefore, if you were one of the many who commented and criticized me with things such as the rent is due or I'm doing this for the money, you now must also criticize Tankfish for the same, or what you have done is engage in a hypocrisy. Secondly, time does not eliminate the severity of his actions. There's no statute of limitations on the act of exposing children to pornography, and accessing or possessing material or content which portrays children in an inappropriate manner. This is something which the law of Canada itself states. Tankfish committed 2 felonies, which I have just explained. The first one being showing to children, and the second one being possessing or distributing containing children or depictions of children. And no matter how long ago it was, he can still be tried for it and still be criticized for it, which is what I did. Furthermore, when he tells you he is a teen in his video, he is in his latter teenage years, still being legally an adult, meaning that he was intentionally evasive and misrepresenting his actual age bracket within the video. Whilst it's true he was a teenager, he was in the 18/19 years age bracket, the 2 years of the teenage years that actually make you a legal adult. This means I can absolutely hold him liable for what he did. As an example even, we have MilkDead, a YouTuber who produced sexually driven thumbnails years ago to an audience predominantly made of children. You may recognize him from the Gone Fishing saga. MilkDead's actions later are still unforgivable, and by comparison, what Tankfish did was a lot worse. In fact, when he returned to make his response to Gone Fishing, MilkDead received enormous amounts of backlash for what he did years ago, despite it having been ancient at this point, and rightfully so. If he is continually ostracized despite not having committed as severe a transgression as Tankfish, Tankfish himself should be held in the same regard to the same level of criticism. So we've established he was still an adult doing this. We've established that time doesn't negate the actions committed, and we've established that certain crimes are simply unforgivable. And thus this point about it being old drama is extremely worthless and does not vindicate him. Third point, you evidently did not watch my video properly. I presented valid evidence, and in Tankfish's own response, he does not contest the evidence aside from the Parlo Mossad psyop, and he even doesn't address some of the most pressing allegations outright, primarily due to the fact that there is no defense for them. We will see this soon as he ignores entire sections of my video. Finally, this is the funniest point made out of all of them. For those who require context, Himpleton and my good friend One I Know decided to use PolyBuzz, the AI app which Tankfish advertised to his child audience that contains sexual content, with Tankfish as the AI character. One of these roleplays was a roleplay where a squad of SA monkeys were touching Tankfish. Now here's where this criticism originates from. Tankfish makes a claim in the latter half of his video that myself and Himpleton made a joke about assaulting him with these monkeys, and cites an AI chatbot as evidence. Firstly, during the first Tankfish stream by Himpleton, I did not make this joke myself once. I simply laughed at it, and we can in fact see this in the clip Tankfish shows himself.
For example, here, let's go into detail and analyze this joke that ImDunesi and his friend Himpleton made about me.
Rape monkeys have arrived for Tankfish. We're gonna rape them to death.
They're waiting my orders. I am giving them the orders, and they are gone now.
And 3, 2, oh, and he's raped.
The goblins have stolen his.
I've linked the VOD in the description to both streams, so you can look at the first stream and see in its entirety that I in fact made no jokes about monkeys assaulting Tankfish throughout that whole first stream. Secondly, his use of AI several times throughout his response video is a testament to the lack of reasoning skills that he can actually muster up himself within the video, and the poor responses being made, which we will go into more. Thirdly, a squad of monkeys assaulting you is not an actionable threat. There is no real-world scenario where I'm capable of training a squad of primates to sexualize you outside your house. An actionable threat is one which can be fulfilled. Finally, Tankfish tries to claim there was no context behind this clip or punchline behind this joke in his video.
So what's the punchline here? What's so funny?
Since I have now given you the context for this joke, he was either too lazy to actually find this, though I doubt it since he was actually watching that stream, forgot that there was context, or was intentionally malicious. It is also worth noting to those believing that me laughing at this joke and then making this joke myself in the second stream is a hypocrisy comparable to what Tankfish did. It is simply not. A joke about a squad of monkeys trained in touching you without consent made over the internet is what would classify as edgy humor, and does not reflect into the real world nor cause real world damage. Tankfish showing pornography to children and his underage viewers, and also linking it, on the other hand, does in fact cause damage in contrast through EPI and through instilling a porn addiction in an underage mind. It causes psychological harm to these developing minds, and as we've clearly established, is a crime. Therefore, none of these things can be attributed to a joke about a fictional squad of apes assaulting someone, meaning that conflating the two is a false equivalence fallacy. Before we continue on to the next section, I must showcase the findings of an inquisitive Kiwi Farms user by the name of Shitfucker. Shitfucker discovered that in 2021, Tankfish downloaded exploits from a shady site which logged some of his details, which I will not be showing in this video since I do not endorse the spreading of people's private data. However, what I will show is the alleged search results that were attached to his emails found from these associated search logs. Now please do explain to me in what realm snuff is something defendable for this man to be searching up. So if you still defend this guy after seeing all of these supposed search terms that he has, then you are defending him accessing illegal content. Some of which that we can see from these search results actually matches up with the new codes that he was using in his videos. So it's not particularly out of this world that these are his search results. Now on to my actual breakdown of his response video. We're going to put a lie counter up in the corner every time Tankfish makes a lie, and we'll count them all in the end. First of all, let's discuss what happened after my video aired. To begin, my video had botted comments spammed on it with nonsensical arguments that I'm attributing false motives to Tankfish's actions, when the video used hard evidence to show actions he had committed undeniably. There weren't even any efforts to nitpick the points made in the video, instead making general comments. Some inquisitive Kiwi farmers decided to look into where these comments were coming from, and found accounts that were made a day before my video was released during the premiere. And as it turns out, a vice administrator in the Chaos Legion Discord server known as Ash Apple had linked an alternative email that had his account's name attached to it on the YouTube channel of one of the comments. After the revelation that the Chaos Legion staff themselves had botted comments and attacked my video, including a friend of Ash Apple, the comment he made was deleted that was sent on his alt. Now, moving on to the actual video. Immediately, Tankfish within the first 6 seconds gives us a general summary of what he had in store for us. This summary already fails to address several things. The TLDR does not address the core issues and simply makes the claim he is not a groomer. Next, he claims the new codes were simply AI references. This is an extreme downplay of what it actually was. The new codes were numerical sequences you could input on a certain site that led to NSFW content, which he would have picked himself. He then says we are bringing this up again as the blurred frames drifted in the YouTube editor. If this were the case, he could still have very much trimmed the ends of the video entirely from the start to prevent the new codes from being viewed. Additionally, this shows he did not double check these codes whatsoever. This is something that we see frequently where he is completely incapable of actually being held accountable for his actions and actually doing something about them, rather choosing the lazy option instead. Something he also did not do is censor or blacklist keywords related to the new codes in his comment sections, which meant that even if he censored these, you can still find them in the comment section. He then briefly touches up on the fucked up codes, making the claim that he did not know what they led to and reposted them. Here's the issue with this statement. Tankfish at this point had been making multiple jokes related to new codes and them leading to content. Seeing several sets of 6-digit numbers in this meme when he's literally making the new code joke should have wizened him up enough to check what's behind them. In addition to this, one of the new codes led to a comic which I will not be naming on this video that was a known code beginning with 177. This code led to an artwork of a 16-year-old student being groomed into and dying in a bathroom. On his most viewed video, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure one, he had a new code leading to an alternative ending of this comic where Josuke Higashikata from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 heals the girl to make her normal again. So, using this video, we can come to the conclusion Tankfish picked this code himself as it fits the JoJo theme of the video, and that Tankfish also is likely aware of what this 177 comic is, as he has referenced it more than once now, and even picked it to be included as a new code with an alternative ending on his JoJo video. As for the PolyBuzz section, I am very certain you can omit the sponsorship from your video by refunding the money that paid for it and voiding the agreement. But money over morals, I suppose. Also, don't view the site as inherently NSFW. I wonder what his argument will be for this, considering we saw a real child in an NSFW roleplay on the front page at the top of the Mafia tag. Next, he continues to omit more information about the streams. He doesn't admit the fact that him and his circle lied about the stream being private, which I called him out on. He also lies to you claiming they were deleted, as clips of the stream still exist on his Thoughtfish Twitch channel. These clips are accessible by anyone to the time of me recording this, and the content of these clips include a drawing of his character riding a in graphic detail. This is beyond suggestive artwork. This is just He doesn't even mention either that he posted these drawings from these streams in the aforementioned NSFW channels which minors could view. Finally, he mentions this was all already addressed and apologized for. Once again, you can claim it doesn't reflect who you are today. That is if one of your videos didn't include an image of Astolfo with exposed underwear and his protruding out of his underwear too. But it still doesn't change the fact that what you did is a felony by your country's own laws. I can absolutely criticize you for it years later, no matter whether you apologized, and the way you addressed it included lying and also downplaying the severity of it. So no, you did not properly address it nor take accountability. Moving on from this TLDR, he then goes on to show this timeline. Side note, I love how condescending he is here. The first and second weren't good enough, as if what you did is not considered a crime in your country. Now explaining the new codes, he tries to compare the joke to the intro music. The difference between the two is the introduction is one which would relate to the entire site as a whole. You were using specific nuke codes which led to the NSFW comics which you handpicked with tags that were very disturbing and vastly inappropriate. Of course, he never brings up any of the tags that I showed his nuke codes led to. He doubles down on this comparison by saying that it was on a if you know basis. He even goes as far as to say that the nuke codes could be any 6-digit number, and you need to know a specific URL sequence for this to work. Now, this argument would hold some weight if he didn't show an uncensored screen showing the sites that you input the nuke code on, with an uncensored Astolfo comic from the said site, with the tags and full title of the comic uncensored on one of his videos. So you provided enough of what would be needed to access the site and the comic on it anyways. Excellent work, Tankfish. I was not familiar with your game. This comic was also used as a nuke code in another video, so you gave all the information needed in order to actually access these nuke codes. Furthermore, as someone who was a minor in his Discord server during all of this, many of his staff and server members there would straight up tell you what the nuke codes were and how to get them, and people, like Tankfish himself, would post some of these codes in there and make jokes about them. This was an environment entirely cultivated by his own actions and his degeneracy. To prove the point that his community was highly sexualized, I have come across a document made by Tankfish's admin Ron, the same admin who created the Tankfish defense doc. Ron was a minor at the time of making this doc that I am about to show you. This here is the fan art competition document, but it's not just any kind of fan art, it is NSFW fan arts of his underage staff members being drawn by the server members. Some of the requests included requests of fan art, certain sizes of ass, and all sorts of colorful activities and drawings for you to make. Man, what a great server to be in. As you can see from what I'm showing you, if the staff were like this, you can imagine what the rest of the server would be like, especially when considering that most of these people were minors. So yes, all it took for you to find out what the nuke code joke was to join that Discord, ask, and have some fully grown adult DM you a full link to the site and show you exactly how to use these codes. And if that wasn't obvious already, you also had YouTube comments explaining how you should do it. Ones which are still not blacklisted by Tankfish. Going forward, he compares himself to a variety streamer and content creator, Moist Critical, citing his content as coming from the 2020 era where content was more normalized. However, this comparison still fails due to two reasons. Firstly, he still admits he continued the nuke codes 3 years later, from 2020 to 2023. Following this time period, and as I've already shown, still makes jokes and many examples of adult and inappropriate humor to his underage audience to this day. Secondly, Moist Critical is a variety content creator who has an outreach to a generally older audience, not appealing purely to children like a Roblox YouTuber would. Before the argument is made that Tankfish is generally for older audiences, his Discord servers allowed minors, and we already showed comments of him replying to underage children about inappropriate topics. My favorite one being the "he'll be more cultured" comment to someone's 12-year-old brother. This is already in addition to him hiring staff who were underage in his Discord who were specialized in artwork. So the argument he's a Roblox YouTuber targeted at an older audience, with oldest considered, is a terrible argument to make. He then goes on to claim he was a stupid, immature teenager in his video, which is a somewhat deceptive comment to be making, as it is true he was a teenager, but he was in the teenage bracket of being an adult, aka above 18. As we've already stated, you are legally considered an adult at this age, and you should know better by then not to do stuff like that, and it should not take you 3 years to realize that including codes that link to pornography in a video pandered to children is a bad idea. He then shows a frame of some of his Discord messages where he's playing a game about guessing the of a 16-year-old femboy from an anime. As a grown adult, how else are you supposed to take it when a grown man is commenting on the of an underage character? This is all to make the overarching point that he's not the same person who he was 6 years ago. Last year, he took an AI sponsorship from an NSFW chatbot, which will be discussed more later, and his recent videos aren't any better. We already discussed how his videos had uncensored frames of femboys being portrayed And we also spoke about how he had a plug falling out of his character's ass in the Tankfish evidence server. He later tries to argue this is nitpicky and even goes on to make an outrageous fallacious argument later on, which we will discuss. But even with all this considered, it doesn't change the fact it is an overt sexual reference and joke pandered at a child audience. It would be inappropriate to show a plug to a child, Tankfish. Looking at the fans commenting on his video and my video too, it's pretty safe to say that these are all children watching and commenting on these videos. He then dedicates the following parts of the video covering the original A Man Seeks document, and cites their response document to this. Here's the issue. I spent the last 10 minutes of my original video on him debunking their entire response document, which he is now telling his fans to have a look at. Looking at the view ratio between our videos, this would mean more people have seen him citing this defense doc as a valid defense than those who are aware that my video had already debunked his entire document, which was filled with fallacies, lies, and nonsensical defenses to his actions. He continues on how he was accused of bribery, which I had already stated at the beginning of my breakdown of their response doc, was not something that had enough evidence to accuse him of. Firstly, there is a section in which they cover allegations that the dark truth about Tankfish video was bribed into being a meme video. This was a weak accusation with little to no grounds to back it, and the owner of the video, to my knowledge, said that he was never bribed. As such, I find it incredibly dishonest that he is even citing this defense doc after I had already covered it extensively for 10 whole minutes, and went over how the defense in it was extremely lackluster. As for Runker's NSFW channel, which he states Ruben had, one I know stated on the Himpleton livestream that Runker's NSFW channel existed back when Discord had barely even started, and Ruben was still 17 at that time, before it was deleted.
The argument is saying that we shouldn't judge Ben because he also had an NSFW server, channel. But the context is this was in the first year of Discord's existence, mind you, aka 2015 when Runker was first created, and then the channel was shortly removed after, I think, the New Year's of 2016. And also, I'm pretty sure Ben was 17 or 18 at this time, meaning at a younger age, Ben had a better understanding of what not to do as a content creator than Tankfish.
Even then, unlike with him, there's no indication nor evidence that Ruben himself did post NSFW in these channels, yet Tankfish very openly and blatantly posted the results of his drawing streams in these NSFW channels, which were accessible to all of his child audience and members of his Discord. He once again goes back to saying how the new codes were dealt with in 1 to 3 days. This is a lie. Green Lego Cat spent a good portion of his video explaining how the new codes took months to be removed, as he consistently was lazy with the censoring or missed videos out entirely. This is without even mentioning how when I first released my video, we found several videos of his that still had the new codes uncensored at the last second on the Himpleton stream.
I was just watching a Tankfish video that it uncensors at the end so you can see the code.
Oh, that's great. So the censors after years are still not proper. That's awesome.
I swear to fuck, I was just, look, Jamal, go to the end of this video and look at this. It uncensors at the end. I was looking at this shit as a joke, and it uncensors at the end.
It does. You therefore cannot make the claim that they were dealt with in 1 to 3 days when the evidence states the direct opposite. It is not 1 to 3 days if your new codes were still uncensored years later and you had to be contacted by other YouTubers for months straight to fix your editing. He then makes potentially the stupidest argument in his whole video so far, where he states codes he showed weren't in fact codes he posted, under the reasoning that they had gay tags, and he's not gay. I was abundantly clear that the codes he's showing you either came from the Twitter posts or came from specific videos that I named in my video. And I already mentioned that there was a recognizable code that he referenced in this video. Also, he did show codes that contained gay content whether he's gay or not. For example, the Astolfo Femboy comics. Saying you're not gay does not suddenly disprove that you sent these codes when the evidence says the opposite. He then shows a clip of a random conversation he had on Discord, which is a clip I in fact showed in my first video, showing that this was just a random joke that he was making, and not him being actually gay. What he fails to mention in this video is the codes that he was showing in these Discord messages contained artwork of a underage boy being brutally assaulted by an older man. This content is illegal to possess in Canada and distribute, yet he distributed the code in the Discord in the original video, and he also proceeded to ask why she has a dick to the underage child that is being stood in front of him in this comic. There is no world where this is defendable, nor forgivable. There is something also worth noting which Himpleton pointed out about this point he made.
That way,
You gotta be kidding, man. So essentially what he just did is he confirmed that the reason that he was doing nuke codes was at least partially for pleasure and not just because it was a joke.
By stating he didn't show certain codes as he's not gay, he's made the implication that the codes he did share are codes that he finds arousing or appealing to him, as opposed to ones that aren't appealing to him, such as the gay ones. This would mean that, by his own words, he chose the codes based off of what turns him on. And looking at the tags of some of these, this is a terrible look, and would also imply he is sharing content that arouses him to children. If he was attempting to make himself look like he was not a groomer, he just did the complete opposite. He then talks about the fucked up codes and laughs about how fucked up they are. Bear in mind, these codes had children in them. His claim that we confused it intentionally is a pretty weak counter to what I was showing in my video too. I stated where these codes came from exactly when I was naming them in my video, and I distinguished the ones that were from the Twitter post to the ones that were from his YouTube videos. I will do the last ones I want to mention. These are from a Twitter post which he reposted and had multiple new codes in them. He claims he didn't know what these were. However, one of the codes in them is a very notable code that most gooners such as himself would know. And it kind of is a no-brainer that when you're making these jokes, you should be checking what they lead to. So I think his plausible deniability is pretty limited here. These codes, no matter where they were posted, were inappropriate and shouldn't have been posted. And whether you knew or not, you still did it with a lack of due diligence. This also doesn't change that you made other Twitter posts showing pornography and posts like this piece of coal here. He then shows the messages from 2021, talking about how the timeline would indicate that he hadn't been called out for the new codes yet, and using it as evidence for the 2023 drama. Whether these messages were before or after the drama, they're showing you admitting to showing new codes to minors and knowing what you were doing at the time. And you were an adult during the sending of these messages. They're absolutely relevant. Trying to disavow these messages because they came before the drama would be the equivalent of stating that Kaneko Kitten is innocent of being a child because his chat messages were before the drama happened and can't be used as proof against him. See why that sounds stupid? He then puts it under the guise that he was just joking. And it would be a joke, if that wasn't the exact thing you were doing. The justification for all these comments is that he's being shit on by thousands of people, and as such it's disingenuous to include these messages that he had sent since he was stressed out. You sent thousands of fans to attack me for laughing about a joke on rape monkeys, and I didn't freak out and start joking about raping animals. I think you can do the same in regards to you joking about showing to children.
However, that is not me anymore. I have already addressed it, taken full accountability, and moved forward.
There's something Tankfish doesn't inherently understand, and that's that he has a pattern of doing this stuff. As we've seen even recently, it has continued. He doesn't even understand the fact that if you did these stupid things in the past, especially when you are an adult, and when it's illegal, you can still be criticized for it. He's bringing up the same point throughout the video as if it means anything.
When in reality it was just a few frames that I have missed. This could be caused by my personal mistakes, but I think that's unlikely considering me and Ruben verified these multiple times. So it was likely due to YouTube editor glitching out. Search it up, it's called frame drift and it happens over time.
You and Ruben may have verified it multiple times. Codes were still uncensored, however, as we've shown. This therefore means literally nothing if they were still uncensored. Now let's quickly break down what frame drift is. In YouTube Editor, your blurred frames cover a certain portion of the video when first added. These blurs can automatically lock onto a different object within the video and drift across the screen, which ruins the sensor.
And then there it is.
Well, here's my thing. Here's my thing. I could buy that it was a glitch, period. But what I can't buy is that it's a glitch that caused the frames to shift over the years. That makes no sense.
As you see, in his videos, the sensor entirely disappears at the end. Even with all this accounted for and the misunderstanding of the frame drift, he still could have trimmed these endings entirely, and it showed he didn't check nor verify the sensors himself at all. If you had really taken accountability for something that you did, would you continue to have not paid any attention to it, or would you have actually double checked and worked on the mistake to ensure that it is not persistent or continued? I don't see how Green Lego Cat's calling you out publicly for doing something this incredibly autistic is a poor judgment on his part, when he's calling you out for something you were ignoring despite how dangerous it was after months of messages and you defending it constantly to his face in private. Even now, Tankfish hasn't actually blacklisted any of the new codes from his comment sections as we've already mentioned, meaning you can still find all of them. At a certain point, your terrible responsibility goes from being as a result of negligence to turning into something malicious when you are this reckless with it.
I genuinely don't understand why the worst possible interpretation of my actions is being assumed and then presented publicly.
I wonder why. He then asks what is the relevancy to him defending his actions after being confronted in private about this. I don't know. Maybe the fact you're defending that you're linking to children and drawing in front of them as an adult? Or are we not going to address the streams at all throughout this whole video?
Do you keep having to bring up someone else's past mistake to justify your position to make it seem like you're on the moral high ground?
The moral high ground. Is it that high of a moral high ground that we think you committing a crime by showing to children repeatedly means you shouldn't have gotten off scot-free? These aren't just past mistakes, they're felonies.
For the years this drama has been going on, he hasn't initiated contact with me even once.
So what were all the messages you just showed less than a minute ago in private of him telling you what you did was wrong and telling you what new codes to censor? In fact, some of the messages Green Lego Cats showed are of his confrontation in private, which predates the Twitter argument you had with him.
You're literally the issue why these dramas happen.
It's not drama, it is you committing 2 felonies. It is not our fault, it is entirely on you for showing to children as a legal adult. And you had multiple one-on-one conversations with several other YouTubers beforehand, which I had seen. Had I had this conversation with you, it would be a repeat of these previous instances, which would amount to nothing. If you would like to speak one-on-one, Tankfish, I formally invite you to do so with me. Again, he discusses his apologies, which we've already explained doesn't suddenly vindicate you of having committed a crime. Wait, what's that smell?
Drama slop supreme, Parlo, aka Cinderella himself.
Oh god! Well, let's see what he has to say about Parlo.
I brought up the situation again, along with like a 100-something page document filled with many out-of-context claims and assumptions.
Context was provided in huge text walls in this document. I don't see how you could make this claim that it's out of context when he spends a huge portion of these 100 pages giving the context.
Obviously, in the end, the main issue still came back to the same topics, the new code joke and the hentai streams.
There were more than just new codes and hentai streams being covered on here. Allow me to tell you what Tankfish does not tell you Parlo spoke about in this document on him. Here's a huge section dedicated to how Tankfish left disturbing comments, hearted comments from children, and discussed topics such as the new codes and he was posting, even acknowledging that these people were children. Here's a huge section about him defending love in order to cover for his friend Sad, who tried defending it and consumed this content. Here's the same point I'm making about him posting on in a Discord server to children and watching it. Here's Parlo also breaking down that your defense doc sucks and makes 0 sense. Here's him covering your previous moderator, Milim, also known as Miko. This was a former moderator of Tankfish's Chaos Legion server who 2 minors. He engaged in sexual messages with a 12-year-old when he was 16 and paid her not to tell his girlfriend when he turned 18, and then groomed another 14-year-old with sexual messages about bathing him and doing other disturbing things to him. Even by his own former girlfriend's admission, he attempted to SA her. The best part is he constantly posted material in the Chaos Legion server and no staff member took actions on him, despite him having very clear warning signs, and his ban reason was even completely unserious. Here's Parlo showing several examples of how degenerate your community and server were at the time of him making this document, which were entirely relevant to what he was doing. And now here's the pizza party incident. I refrained from talking about this in my original video since it was getting too long and I wanted to focus primarily on Tankfish. However, you could make a solid 1-hour video purely on the history of his community because of just how bad this shit gets. A former administrator of Chaos Legion, known as Mob Control, created a server affiliated with Chaos Legion called Chaos Legion Divisions. And Tankfish had been a member of Chaos Legion Divisions with an admin role. Parlo shows evidence of what happened in this server, where a 14-year-old raid host started a great raid idea where server members, all of whom were minors, would go on hit Roblox game Criminality, take over the pizza place of the game, and dress up as maids and start roleplays with guests who were ordering pizzas. Parlo even shows the Roblox uniforms that are still up to this day that have the words written on them, where the U is shaped to symbolize a cum drop. So how exactly, when considering all of this, is his doc only about the new codes and Himpleton Streams, and how is any of this out of context or irrelevant? All of these points are relevant to the community which you fostered and the behavior which you're showing. There's even more things which I have not shown. So, the claim that any of this is out of context or not relevant is merely him trying to deflect and avoid even addressing any of these. He then shows his third apology, where we have another apparent lie which he still has not addressed and constantly recycled throughout his videos and throughout his entire career.
So I made a third apology, this time longer, better, and approved by the people in the discussion group of the drama.
We already explained that his streams being private is not the case. But if in doubt, here's his Twitch channel with the clips of it still up. Also, what does a bunch of YouTubers approving your response actually mean? They can approve it all they want. It doesn't suddenly make it a valid response.
This is a classic legal tactic called document dumping, where one side floods the record with excessive material instead of presenting clear, focused evidence.
This document has a lot of text fluff, but you cannot claim that it is document dumping when the screenshots and evidence presented are all valid, and you can't claim it has a lack of structure as it is properly indexed and you can search for key terms and key incidents. This means it only fits one of several criteria to actually refer to it as a document dump. And only on the text side of things is there fluff to call it a document dump. And even said fluff provides context to the screenshots that are being given. So essentially, he dodged the whole document filled with valid evidence against him with what I've presented on behalf of Parlo, purely because it shows the sheer depravity of his community and his actions, and it would simply be impossible for him to respond to all of it. Now, here we are with the whole Parlo Mossad psyop in this section, essentially trying to claim I'm a madman conspiracy theorist for coming up with a baseless accusation. He, however, fails to mention what Green Lego Cats mentions in his video about this incident, being that the account which was gaslighting him with false info left the server the same day after Tankfish was banned, right after.
Why on earth would anyone in the server, which is where the fake messages came from since the colors aligned with our roles, send fake messages to Parlo to help Tankfish? And as soon as Tankfish was kicked without members knowing, the burner magically apologized and said they were caught.
Admittedly, my explanation in the video was partially lackluster, not providing enough context. Yet, he showed evidence and responded to things from both Green Lego Cats' video and from my video separately, albeit choosing what to respond to and not responding to every single thing. Picking out things he can either lie about or avoid more easily. So here's the question. If he's covered the old Discord messages he sent in his private YouTuber community, why did he not cover Green Lego Cats' response to him on the topic of gaslighting Parlo? Being the constant coincidental timing of this burner account, and leaving as soon as Tankfish was banned. Possibly because it would make too much sense and make him look worse. Even his defense to this was poor.
These other YouTubers making a video on Parlo, so Parlo stops making a video about me? Like, what?
He missed the entire point that the messages being sent to Parlo were fake, and were made to make him think these YouTubers were going to attack him, which would mean Tankfish would no longer be his priority for a video any longer. Nobody said that these people were defending him, and he entirely misunderstands the point of what was said here, almost in a way that confuses the viewer watching the response video.
If I was the real leaker and I saw someone getting kicked for my actions, I would stop leaking. Why? Because it's the perfect cover.
If you saw someone get kicked for leaking, you would stop leaking because that's the perfect cover. He essentially just said he would do exactly what the burner account leaking fake messages to Parlo did for the perfect cover. Did he just admit guilt accidentally? Now we skip to 2026, my video, plus the PolyBuzz stuff. Since he mentioned the site's name in his video, I guess we're free to say it now.
Now about PolyBuzz, when I researched it last year, the consensus was positive, and the platform was known for being strict on censorship.
If your research on them led to a positive consensus last year, you didn't do any research. In fact, you had someone joining my server trying to reply to me in private where I already debunked this to you through them. But you're not going to mention that to your audience, are you? The site already had videos of people showing multiple not safe for work ads on YouTube over a month before you uploaded your video. Even the video advertisement I showed in mine was from before your video was uploaded. If the platform was so strict on censorship, how come Himpleton was able to get a squad of trained rape monkeys to brutalize you in a roleplay? If it was so strict on censorship, how come I showed a roleplay featuring a real child in a sexual scenario in my video that was on the front page and not through the search engine? In case you're wondering, no, he never addresses the fact that the site had real children on it. He then possibly does the funniest thing he has done throughout this whole video, being showing the PolyBuzz front page to try to illustrate the point that it's child friendly. Except if we zoom into his screen, the very top of the site has a Gojo Ghetto Yaoi gay comic being advertised. Even the bots he shows in the video are ones clearly not appropriate for children, as you're seeing right now, which I even highlighted some of them. Wait, is that fucking Levi Ackerman being forced onto a bed? What could that possibly mean, Tankfish? You can't be claiming that these are simple romances. Hell, there were even comments calling him out on taking the sponsorship before my video ever came out. The point should even be asked of whether having romantic roleplays with these AIs is even appropriate for a child. Therefore, why would you advertise a company which primarily prides itself on having romantic roleplays with AI chatbots to your child audience? The mere notion of even claiming some of these romances are appropriate is outrageous, even seeing the tags on them and what they're saying. And the top of the page alone should tell you this is not appropriate to advertise.
Again, I do feel the current criticism feels distorted because it starts with the assumption that the platform is simple. Then they cherry pick extreme examples to prove it. This is confirmation bias.
What? The worst one contained a real child and was on the front page, which I did not search for. My video even shows me clicking on the mafia category and the fucking AI bot being on the top row sitting there. No search needed. How are we searching for the worst examples if they get shown right in front of us after one click? He then tries to compare this to finding NSFW on sites like Twitter and Reddit. The difference is, Twitter and Reddit don't allow you to post content depicting illegal material and you can be terminated for doing such. And Twitter and Reddit are sites not intended for children. You advertised a site for adults to children which hosted potentially illegal content and fetish content with no filters. And a lot of these bots were shown on the front page. The fact that the search results that contained these awful roleplays even auto-filled rather than being entirely removed or being banned is the most insane part. He then refreshes the page only to show more AI bots that are clearly not appropriate for children to be viewing or interacting with. And even amidst the fact that 2 official tags that you have when expanding the tags list on the site, which once again takes 1 click, are boy love and girl love. He then shows he can't remove the sponsorship due to him having a contract, which we've already covered. Then we go back to the same apology. Guess what? He still hasn't pointed out that he lied about the streams being private and is still citing the same apology. If you truly have taken accountability, Tankfish, then can you admit you've lied in all of these past apologies you're showing? Thanks.
The current issue where a few videos' nuke code got uncensored for 1 or 2 frames at the end of the video is also fixed. I have trimmed out the outros from all the videos that have the nuke code so that hopefully no more bugs like this happens in the future.
Wait a minute. Tankfish, you were watching my exposed video the day it came out, and the first Himpleton stream when it happened. Why are these only being censored now that the video actually has views?
Oh my god, the videos are hidden now, wait. He hid them!
Yeah, it's almost like he knows what we're doing.
So yes, in case Ash Apple botting comments wasn't an indicator, he knew about my video from the beginning. He only decides to take action on these new codes a month later when I've actually gotten traction. Not only that, but he does not address the fact that he took down 2 videos from his second channel whilst I was showing them on the Himpleton livestream that contained uncensored pornography, fanboy porn panels, and him creating a porn account and showing it. All of which he did whilst he was an adult. Why has he never addressed these 2 videos that were on his second channel, I wonder, despite them having well over 90,000 views? It's almost as if there's no defense and he can only nitpick certain topics he's revised his defense to several times over. We now enter the long tangent about how these are old mistakes he already dealt with and took accountability for his actions, which is like the 3rd time now where I've had to explain this essentially has no meaning when considering the severity of what he did. He then incorrectly uses the term info hazard. To those who aren't aware, an info hazard is something which refers to the distribution or possession of information which is dangerous to have. If I had nuclear clearance codes, not to be confused with Tankfish's codes, they may be codes that access Russian ICBMs. These would be considered an info hazard. What information do you have that is dangerous to possess, Tankfish? How is you responding to allegations that have already been made public a info hazard? You're not exactly possessing some dangerous information that could endanger you or others.
I also see some people saying, well, the joke isn't funny. Well, no shit, it has been explained. What a joke that has been explained and overanalyzed like this would still be funny.
No, Tankfish, the joke isn't funny because it was explained. It's not funny because the joke is I wonder what example he's going to use here to justify this.
Here, let's go into detail and analyze this joke that ImDunesi and his friend Himpleton made about me.
Rape monkeys have arrived for Tankfish. We're gonna rape them to death.
They're waiting my orders. I am giving them the orders, and they are gone now.
And 3, 2, and he's raped.
So where in this clip did I actually make the joke? This was one I know in Himpleton making the joke. And although I've already responded to this completely idiotic comparison at the start of the video, let's once again refresh your memories. This is not an actionable threat, contrary to what your AI is telling you, as I can't train a squad of monkeys to assault you, and is not comparable to you committing a crime. One is a felony, one is an edgy internet joke. This is a false equivalence.
Like what you did to the new codes, calling them EPI, then in turn calling me a groomer, you quickly go down a slippery slope where a lot of jokes suddenly become federal felonies.
That's the thing. Your jokes are felonies. You're linking to children, which is illegal. One of the jokes you gave a code for led to which is illegal.
And I know he's doing it. Just look at the thumbnail. He's insinuating that I'm a pedophile.
Oh, really? We have fucking Albert Einstein in the room with us. What gave you the idea that the thumbnail insinuated you were a pedophile? I couldn't possibly tell. He then spends the next minute downplaying how severe these actions are, saying it's a stupid joke constantly.
My concern wasn't necessarily the new codes, but what the removal implies.
Oh boy, I wonder what the reason was.
I don't know if after shitting on me for new codes, they will shit on me for some other similar stupid jokes I make, and they might just keep moving the line until nothing is safe to say anymore.
This is approaching the levels of being as stupid as the whole I'm not gay argument he made earlier to defend that he didn't show certain codes that he definitely did show. If Tankfish didn't make a joke involving children, I wouldn't have anything to make a video off of. A felony and crude or edgy humor, as we've established, are two very different things. Hell, as we've already seen, I laugh at and make my own fucked up jokes. Difference is, my jokes don't involve potentially scarring children for life or causing them to develop addictions to NSFW content by sharing it to them, which again is just EPI.
And better than ever, and you're all finished.
Now, I doubt anyone sees this and be like, oh shit, this is so hot, I'm gonna go buy a plug and stick it up my ass. But the point stand, if this isn't safe, then a lot of other things could technically not be safe as well.
He entirely misses what I said here. The point wasn't that someone would get aroused by a plug falling out of a Roblox player's ass. The point is you're showing a sexual object to a bunch of teens and kids watching your video. Let's think about it this way. As you are an entertainer of mostly underage children, would it be appropriate for you to enter a playground and start flailing Parlo's Cinderella around as if it were Excalibur as a joke? Fuck no, because it's inappropriate for a child to see that. In the same sense, it's inappropriate that you're showing a plug to your child audience. It's inappropriate for you to show fanboys with exposed underwear and their bulges protruding in your videos. It's inappropriate to show uncensored hentai sites, and it's inappropriate to refer to animal dildo companies in front of a bunch of children. How hard is it to understand that what I'm criticizing you for is adult jokes, adult content, and felonies in a children's space? They don't have to be aroused by seeing a butt plug, but the reference or showing of a sexual object to them is not appropriate.
Also, any personalities online all have a pretty sizable minor audience, and the minors on Roblox...
Jinxie is a variety content streamer. Once again, not a Roblox YouTuber who panders to children. Him showing his chest is not equivalent to you showing to children. And I mean, this fucking graph he drew is insane. Me calling you out is on the basis of you harming children, such as myself, at the time for what you did. This whole argument uses what is called a slippery slope fallacy, claiming that you calling him out on committing 2 felonies, which apparently is just a joke, will lead to stricter rules. Saying that out loud doesn't make any fucking sense, does it? He then yaps a little more before making the joke that he's sharing what he goons to children.
When you realize my defense wasn't about me trying to purposely keep the kids exposed to the codes because I wanted to share so badly what I gooned, but because I had deeper concerns about the double standard being set and what would still be considered as a joke. I also want to quickly address the accusations regarding me liking certain illegal content. They are false. The defense I made for it was in the full context. At the time, I had just woken up to a massive conflict in general where a guy was being threatened with a dox because he claimed was legal. However, after actually doing the research, I found out it was illegal in Canada.
Oh, here we go again. He omits context again in this response. Was not banned at all. Content was being posted by people freely, such as his pedophile former moderator Millum. And it took a whole argument for this content to be banned. You yourself engaged with this content and posted it too, prior to this whole argument. That's what you were being called out on. Your staff engaged with it, and only when the backlash from your whole community rolled in did you actually do anything. Not out of acknowledging these artworks are reprehensible, but because of the backlash.
Fun. The drama people might go after me for some other jokes I made. They might try to frame me with other messages or things I've said and done.
I could not care less that you said a racial slur in 2021, and I never called you out for this, nor was I going to, since this isn't something that really matters to me. I think just about everyone has said at least 1 or 2 slurs in their lifetime. Who gives a fuck? Are you going to, however, point out that the uniform you're showing here is one that you're still selling on your Roblox group, the same platform that is dominated primarily by underage teens and children?
Thank you for sitting through this with me, and I'll see you next time.
Nope. Finally, we've reached the end of the video. This sucked. Let's quickly check the like. Oh wow, that's just awesome. I mean, wow. I think that's too many lies for it to be appealing to Tankfish, since he only likes it when it's less than 18, if you know, you know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed sitting through this with me. I don't need to make another video since his entire response is now debunked. I have a few interesting projects planned in the future, and I will be posting about them soon. Though those of you who've been here for a while know how amazing my upload schedule is. Thank you for watching this video, thank you for sticking with me, and I hope to see you around for the next one. Goodbye.